Hi, welcome to this video. Now, the very first question that I want to ask you is, why are you here? Right? People visit or people watch videos for different reasons. Now, this video particularly, if you are a first timer or if you are already a homeowner looking to upgrade, or if you are an investor or a homeowner who is looking to get yourself an appreciating asset, then this video is for you. Key reason why this video is made is because you want to get yourself an appreciating asset here in Singapore. Who am I? My name is Boon Wei and I'm a realtor with ERA, and I'm here to help you build your retirement portfolio through property investment. Well, I would like to say your retirement portfolio. By having created these slides, I realize it's more than your retirement portfolio. Okay, so if you're interested in that, continue to watch this video and hear me out. Let me explain to you. Okay, so let's just get started right away. Okay, now in November we seen this launch, right? More than 3,500 new launches, and basically creating a V-shaped recovery, right? So out of this launched, they're basically 65% sold, which is roughly about 2,300. And by the time you're watching this video, I'm sure these numbers are definitely more than what you're seeing on the screen, right? So you see articles reporting during this period. Every time when there's new launch, more than 50% being sold, more than 80% being sold, right? Even 99% being sold for a particular project, right? So we always say that, hey, Singapore property price is so expensive. Why are we going in? Why do we still buy? Now, I think the right question to ask is, why are all these people still buying despite the high price? Is there something that they know and you don't? Because that difference in the knowledge, right, will basically create the difference in your wealth accumulation. Now, it's not about them. Now it's not about them. It's more about you. They have already taken their action, but you haven't. So is there something that they know and you don't? And is there something of a catch up that you want to do? Then the next question that we need to ask, right? What to buy, right? Is it HDB? Is it EC? Is it condo? Is it resale? Is it new? Right? So this combination of whether it's a resale HDB, resale EC, resale condo versus new HDB, new EC, new condo, right? Everybody has got their different reason, but you cannot omit the part where the asset needs to be an appreciating one. The growth needs to be a substantial one. Okay? So we have seen growth in all of this that we mentioned, right? Whether it's HDB, whether it's condo, we call it non-landed here, or whether it's landed, we are seeing growth over the past 5 years from this chart, right? And more than this chart, you can definitely see that the prices is always increasing, right? And particularly for condos, non-landed, we're seeing a 31.1% growth over the past 5 years. Now, if you divide that, that's like about maybe 6% per year. Okay? Okay, so now basically this slide, we're looking at the new home stock available in Singapore. Basically what you can see over here is that we are currently at a 5-year average, lower than 5-year average. And in short to say, because of the demand and supply, this is basically kept within control. Okay, so that's what you want to understand from this slide. And if you take a look at this chart, don't you see that this is always an increasing trend despite cooling measures coming in at different point of time? Right? When the property market gets too hot, the government will introduce some sort of cooling measures, right? And what you see is that the market will go flatten a little bit, and then once they stabilize, they can understand what's happening, they go at it again. People start buying, 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 and then when it gets too hot, again, cooling measures, right? So every time when you see cooling measures, the purpose is not to beat the market, it's to stabilize the growth, because then there's no bubble created. This is then more substantial and it can continue to grow, right? If you don't believe, you can look at other property markets. Hong Kong, China, US, it's very different. Here in Singapore, we really have a very good control because of our government. Okay? Now, next thing that you want to ask is, HDB versus private. Over the past 15 years, right? This is what we see. Now, both are great assets. Both are growing as well. It's just that the rate of growth is different. Okay? From the start, HDB is not meant for investment per se, right? The purpose of HDB is not meant for that. If you look at it, the policies around HDB are meant for Singaporeans, Singapore PRs only. It's very hard to spike up the prices too much, right? Although we may see crazy prices for HDB, but that's very rare, right? The median price that you're seeing is basically slower in terms of growth, right, compared to private property. Remember, growth. Okay, that's the key thing that you are looking for when you're looking at asset. So, why executive condo? Right. So what you see over here, basically, if you compare a EC and a condo, first off, when it's new launch, that price difference would already be a no-brainer. Okay, so that's one thing that most people would really want to consider EC. Right, so why ECs make sense, right? Because only Singaporeans can get, right? And 70% is reserved for first timers, basically people who haven't got any HDBs, no property, nothing. This group of people can get, and there's no ABSD compared to your private property. Okay, and there's no need to sell your HDB first before you get your EC. Right, that makes it easy for people who are looking to upgrade from HDB to EC. There's also longer loan tenure, okay, which means your monthly installment will be lower. Right, this we've covered. It's the ease of upgrading, and there is an easy payment scheme called the deferred payment scheme. This is not even the progressive payment, it's deferred payment. It's different. And comparing ECs to condo, in short, you're basically paying lesser, a lot lesser. Okay, the quantum is already lesser, right? So then that just means booking fee, the exercise fee, the buyer's stamp duty, the ABSD, it's gonna be a lot easier for our pocket, right? And this widening of new launch, basically it's another reason why people should go for ECs as a start. And it's a privilege for Singaporean, right? So that difference, that 600, 700 difference right now, right, is gonna be the key reason why you go in. And this is the reason. Because more than 99% of the ECs are profitable. Are there non-profitable ones? Yes, but the number, it's really not significant enough to talk about. And we are also seeing new EC prices going higher, right? So when the land cost for the developers is at 576, it is sold at 1003 PSF, right? So as the cost gets more, we will expect the price to also increase when new launch. And there's really nothing much that we all can do about it, because this is the bid that they want from the government. And developer also need to make money, right? So that difference between that is basically what they have to earn. So when you see developer bidding at such a price, and for your information, government can reject when the price is too low, right? Why is it so? Because again, the government controls the pricing. Okay, so as you can see over here, again, ECs are also something that people are going to. There is that demand for ECs. And the good thing is that because it's properly and carefully planned, you won't see too much of an EC within a year. They're usually quite spread out. In a year, you probably only see 1 to 3 launches. And this is what we have been seeing over the years. So there are upcoming ECs, basically low in supply, but there's always that demand to get that EC, right? Which makes it very, very rare, right? Something rare in the market that us Singaporeans can get. And as mentioned before, because the land prices are increasing, the EC prices will also slowly increase. And this is the trend. Right? So people who have bought into ECs are profiting within about, I would say, 7 to 12 years. Because these are the data that we can see from the transacted, right? So in Prive, in Punggol Prive, we're seeing people profiting about $1 million, right? And Punggol again, River Park, we're seeing people profiting 900,000. Punggol Water Bay, and then in Choa Chu Kang, you have Seoul Acre, and then Choa Chu Kang, Wonderville, and Choa Chu Kang again, Inns Residence. Right, so you need to know that certain asset class can potentially get you this kind of profit. How much you're getting, basically also spurred by market demand. Right, people who wants to get the location, the size, the kind of price, right? Next up, Y condo. So what we see over here, basically comparing from last 5 years to last 20 years, we are seeing new homes experience high growth. Okay, and in 20 years, 15 years time, we are seeing like 100% return. Now the thing about new homes, and this is what we're expecting, what we are seeing in terms of the trend, is that they are going to increase in price no matter what, right? So in 2009, we're seeing 700 plus per square foot. In 2014, we're seeing 1,100 per square foot. 2019, we're seeing 1,400 per square foot. 2023, we're seeing 19,000 per square foot, right? So that's about 7.15% per year growth over the last 15 years, right? whether it's CCR, whether it's RCR, whether it's OCR, this price will continue to increase going into 2028, 2033. Now, unless something really big happen, but you know, Singapore is relatively stable, we are going to see this happening. And this is not just by ERA predicting. Banks like DBS and Morgan Stanley has also came out to say that prices will go up. Right? The prices are actually on track to go up to, by 2030. And this is already happening, right? We are seeing new launches setting new benchmark price. Right? So in Queenstown area, we are seeing Commonwealth Towers, Queen's Peak, they started off at 1,006. And right now, when we look at Blossom by the Park, the Hill at One North, it's going at 2004, 2006. Right? So we need to read the trend and we need to understand what's happening in the market in the bigger picture. Right? Sometimes you only focus on a certain area. Let's also take a look at other areas. Right? This is Clementi, we're seeing the same trend. This is Bukit Timah, we're seeing the same trend. Okay. So new condo price usually rise after launch. At the same time, you will also see prices around the area increasing. How you want to see is that when there's new launch, right, they're basically like the pillars, new pillars being injected in the area. Right? So whenever there's new launch in the area, the sales and the price around the market will increase. And then comes another new launch. Maybe flatten a little bit, right? But you are seeing that there is the increasing trend. Right? In 2000, because of COVID, there's a dip, right? But in general, this trend is going to go up. Again, new launch, price increase, new launch, price increase. The reason is that when there's new launch, they basically set the benchmark, right? Like what we have showed you earlier on. And because of this, nearby condos prices are basically also being pulled together with this new launch. They may not be at the new launch price, but somewhere close, right? So this is in Bukit Panjang, very similar trend. This is in Clementi, similar trend. Okay, and that's the pillar and the launch date that you see, right? But in terms of pricing, you will see that no matter whether it's older condos, new launch, the prices will follow through. It will follow through. It will grow together. Okay? So new launch usually help bring the prices around that area. And that's what I meant. And this will continue to go up when you see a new launch coming at a higher price. Basically, these lines over here that you see will go uptrend upwards again. Right? So you see, the older condos usually won't be at that new launch price. But over time, it may catch up. But it's not going to be close to the new launch until you give it some time. Right? And this is another one that we're seeing. Next thing, affordability. Now, this is a quick cheat sheet for you to look at how much you can afford and at what price, right? So on the left, we have your income, and on top, we have your age and your loan tenure, right? So for example, somebody who is 35 years old can loan 30 years, and depending on your income, say a combined income of 16,000, right? It's somewhere in between. So you can basically already have a quick gauge that, yeah, you can buy something slightly lower than 2.5, but it's definitely going to be more than 2.2, 2.1. Okay, this table is for you to have a quick gauge of how much you can potentially get. Also, something quick to show you is that because it's not about other people, you don't have to care too much about what other people are buying. You just roughly know, but you don't really have to care. What you really have to care is you're fighting against time. As you grow older, which is something that nobody can reverse, your buying power starts to go down. Let's say, right, even if you are earning the same income, your buying power starts to go down, which is the reason why I encourage you to start to sit down and see what is good in the market, what you can currently get in the market. All right? Because the time is ticking. Now, this is a good table, quick table to show you that if mortgage rate is about 3% per annum, right? A combined income or your household income at 10,000, your monthly payment will be at 5.5, loan quantum will be at 1.1 plus, down payment will be at 300 plus, value of property will be at 1.5 plus. So basically, what you want to say is, over here it's the quantum of the property, right? This is your 25%, this is your 75%, based on how much you are earning and how much you need to pay per month, based on 3%. Okay, so a quick guide. Within 2 mil, you can expect to get yourself a new launch 2-room. Again, this is, sorry, just to mention, this is for OCR. Yeah. So for 2 mil to 2.5, you can expect to get a new launch 3-bedroom or a resale 5-bedroom. At 2.5 to 3.2, you can expect to get a new launch 4-room, new launch 5-bedroom. Okay, so a very quick one, just for you to know what's in the market right now, how much you can get. And because of the increasing price, fewer HDB buyers are buying private homes. And this suggests that more of them are being priced out. Right? With the increasing price, increasing quantum, the earning cannot catch up with the increase, and basically this is happening. Right? So people are more price sensitive in today's market, because when they see new launch at a certain price, at a certain quantum that is really more affordable, they really jump into it. Okay, and this is what people are buying because they believe in Singapore property market. Right, so next thing, first property buyers, and these are actually for people below 35 years old. Right, so for example, people who are below 35, to get you started off with, if there is a 1.3 million property, this is what you will be expecting in terms of down payment, in terms of your loan, and in terms of your monthly installment. Right? And if all goes good, what you're expecting to see is that upon TOP, if you rent out, you stay with your parent, you sell it 2 years later. So basically 4 years to build, rent out 2 years, you sell it 2 years later after collecting some rental to finance this property, and you sell it at 1.5, you'll be expecting to get this in return, which is about 30% in 6 years. And you basically get a capital build up from 365,000 to 570,000. Your next potential property is at 1.9. All right. So why this will work is because if you start as young as you can, you invest your money, you let the market help you with the capital appreciation, you minimize the commitment, right, during the building stage. Upon TOP, you rent it out to cover the monthly installment, basically to finance this property, right? So you collect rental, pay for property, build up your capital, and then allow yourself to have a higher purchasing power in the near future, right? So for dual income family, HDB or having private, right? So a quick comparison. If you buy a HDB with an income of 9,000, right? How much you can loan, how much you are paying, how much you can pay based on the MSR or the TDSR. And this is the number that we are seeing, right? Because of MSR, you can only be paying so much for your property. You can only loan so much for your property. And if you were to put in the renovation, this is roughly the price that you can go for. Versus if you were to buy a private, you can have a longer loan tenure, you can have a bigger loan size, and the property price that you can potentially get into as a young couple is this price. Now, so why this will work is because, as we know, HDB is not for investment. If you want for something that can appreciate and that can grow faster and higher, it's to go for the private, right? For resale or HDB, you will have a higher renovation cost, and that will already set you back in terms of investment, because this is an expense that you have to take into consideration when it comes to investment in property, right? And because of MSR, this will affect your purchase price, and because of the loan tenure, your monthly installment is also affected, right? And usually, because of the policies in place, there is your MOP versus your private property. As an investor, you want to make use of your age, right? That's why we say you have to start as young as you can, because you have the advantage, right? So private property only has a TDSR of 55%. So that means you can increase your loan amount, right? So buying of private property also has the facilities, right? With the same income, or rather the amount that you're paying, you can get to use the facilities. And comparing private properties, property index, it is growing faster, right? And you can achieve more capital build up as the family grows, right? So next thing, at the 16K income, let's take a look at the easy versus private. When you have your income at 16K, and because of your 30% MSR, your maximum purchase price is at 1.2. And any other that is beyond this amount has to be in cash, right? Versus if you buy into private, because of the 55% with the same income, your maximum purchase price will be at 2.3. So you got to weigh the difference and understand why you should get into an EC, why you should get into a condo. Okay, and over here it's presented to you because if you have some support, for example, from your family, or from your investments, from other investments, this may be an easier option because you already have that cash with you that you can go into. Versus condo. Right? Condo, you don't have to worry too much because of that earning power and because of how much you can loan. It will affect your purchasing power. So everybody is different. You're in a different situation. You have a different portfolio. You have a different environment. You have a different family background. All these are considerations that you need to take into, because this will affect your own capital build-up, your own wealth accumulation over time. Right? So why this will work is because, again, EC will take longer to sell, right? You have your 5 years MOP versus your private, which is 3 years. You have a shorter exit plan because of this, right? So then you can relook at what to invest again. Right? Earlier mentioned, because of EC's MSR at 30%, it will affect your purchasing power. Same for this, right? And then for investors who can leverage on their age, right? If you can start as young as possible, you can loan more of other people's money, which is the banks, right? Most of the time. And with the same income, you can buy bigger ones, right? Next thing that I want to touch on is basically lease decay and depreciation. Now, if you haven't seen this before, it's time to take a look, because no matter what kind of property you get into, you will expect this. As long as it's a leasehold property with 99 years here in Singapore, we are going to see this. This may not be widely reported, widely out there, but as an investor, you have to know that this asset that you're holding on to is run by this table, this law, according to SLA, right? So when you first get your property, realistically, we are seeing that increase, right? But that increase may come at a stop when it reaches 60 years left in your leasehold. And then we start to see the dip. If you have time, you can check out any property portals, those who can show you in terms of the numbers of years left. You can basically find landed property going at less than 1 million, sometimes a lot lesser, because the owners still want to get rid of that property, maybe to fund for some other investments, right? In short, leasehold property at the end of the day will have to be returned to the state. It cannot be passed down to your future generations. So, why act now? Right? Maybe you can wait for another 5 years. Maybe you can wait for another 10 years. Now, these are the reasons why you should act now and not wait for 5 years, 10 years. Number one, cooling measures. I don't know if you're following the news, but there are some hints that there may be some change in the policies, right? Cooling measures may come in. We don't know why, but this is on Straits Times, Business Times, and they usually don't publish something for no reason. Okay, so if we relook at what they can change, although the article over here says, yeah, 5% ABSD, let's just not look into just ABSD, right? Let's look into anything and everything in terms of 5%, because then that will make you think again whether with this 5% change, are you able to still get into the market or get yourself into an appreciating asset when this happens? We need to strategize a little bit. We cannot not strategize because we think that everything will stay status quo. As an investor, you need to strategize because this will then change everything when you look at different investment or when you look at your portfolio. Right? So first let's take a look at your loan to value, right? So let's say right now you can loan 75% for your first property. But then they change it to 70%. Is that going to affect your purchasing power? Is that going to make it harder for you? Or they make it such that you have to increase your cash payment to 10% instead of the initial 5%. Right? We can skip the seller stamp duty because at the point of purchasing, it's not going to affect you too much. So I'm going to skip this because I think the current one is good enough. But I mean, if you are diligent enough, maybe you want to add, 5% to these areas, and then you see how it goes, right? So buyer stamp duty, same thing. What if it's according to the article? Maybe it's not called ABSD, right? Maybe it's just buyer stamp duty. At the point of purchase, if you're getting something more than 1 mil, you have to pay for this 5% stamp duty. More, right? 5% more than what you are paying right now. And then we have the TDSR, right? Instead of 55%, it is now being decreased to only 50% of your income, right? And then ABSD, maybe let's make it a bit harsher. Maybe let's not talk about 1 mil. How about as long as you are purchasing, you will be paying that 5% like Singapore PR. Like what the Singapore PR is paying now. But then to make you feel better, they also make Singapore PR pay an additional 5% more. Okay, so with the current cooling measures already in place, with a tweak of these numbers, it will already change a lot of people's purchasing power and also how much they may possibly loan, right? So I want to bring your attention back to this chart again, which I previously showed you, right? So usually when we get cooling measures, it's flat, right? After cooling measures, we see the price flattening. Now, if this comes in, right, as an investor, maybe you're expecting the price to go down, right? Then you want to purchase, then you can purchase because you're waiting for that dip. But if you can see, right, most of the time, dips don't happen. So if the cooling measure doesn't come in and the price continue to go up, are you going to buy then? Right? So you need to ask yourself this question. If you buy later without cooling measure and the price is higher, would you buy? If there's cooling measure and the price flattened, but then because of the cooling measure, like previously mentioned, you just add 5% to any of those cooling measures, right? Are you then still able to purchase, right? Versus now there is nothing, right? So something to consider, something to really, really think about, because this one I think really is no joke. Next thing is the time that you have left, because especially in property, so basically time equals to opportunity cost. Okay, so if we take a quick look at this, it basically just means how many times, how much you can possibly get yourself into, and then at the end goal have a bigger pot of retirement fund. If you compare to someone who can do it 3 times, right, versus somebody who can only do it 2 times, this will be definitely a smaller pot, right? And if you go into something that is of a slower growth, right, this will also be a smaller pot. So this is also another reason why you shouldn't waste your time. Next thing, Fed rate cut. Now, at this point of time, at this point of juncture, this doesn't come very, very often, but we somehow or rather have the chance to meet this Fed rate cut at this point of time. So over history, over the number of years of data that we are seeing, right? So basically the red line is your SORA 3-month. Whenever there is that rate cut, you will see the price, or you will see that the SORA will also decrease, right? It follows concurrently with the Fed rate. So we also want to look at the sales because of lower interest rate. So usually when there is a higher rate, right, and there's a start of dip, people start buying. And then when the market gets too hot, there's the cooling measure. And then because of cooling measure and also the rising of the interest rate, the sales is not as high, right? When there's rate cut again, people start buying again. And again, when there is increase in rate, people stop buying. And now the rate is coming down, right? So these are what I call human behavior, right? People will react accordingly to different situation. And in terms of global situation, what's happening in the global scene that affects your monthly installment, this will be a very big reason why people will start getting into properties. And this also brings us back to why cooling measures may apply. Right? We need to understand data, and we need to learn from history. And we are even seeing the rate going as low as 2.45, right? So how this will affect you is that if the rate is at 3%, and if you are going for a 2 million loan quantum, you will be expected to pay at 8,004, right? But if the rate goes lower, you will be expecting to pay lower, of course, right? But this also means that people are going into because they are paying lower, right? Remember the very first slide that I show you? And I ask you this question: why people are buying and why you are not? Is there something that people are seeing and you are not? Right? People are anticipating that more people are going to jump into property market. Prices will go up. Cooling measures may come. By then, maybe they cannot afford. Why not now? This may be the very reason why people are going into properties right now. Okay? Another reason is basically the growing population. Right? So why will property continue to appreciate over time, especially here in Singapore? Right? In the short term, right, we look at financial market, there's that quick up down because of liquidity, because of volatility. In the long term, right, there are transformation, there are government policies. But in the long term, this growth in terms of population is what we need to focus on. And it's really the reason why property price will continue to go up. Because if you think of it, right, who will buy from you in the near future? Because that is your exit plan. Now, we are following the government's policy and what the government wants us to do, right? And usually by following, things cannot go wrong because the government don't want anything to go wrong. Now, we are expecting, right now we are at 6 million. And we are expecting our population to go to 6.9 million. Okay? And this is according to the government, right? They have plans in mind. This is how they want to do things. Lands are set aside to build more homes and to build more infrastructure. Okay, so a lot of information out there basically is showing you that we are on track for this increasing population. We are going to build more homes to accommodate these people coming in. And the numbers of people converting to a citizenship, to a PR, is also within our government's control. So how many citizenships and how many PRs they want to give, it's up to them to decide. But I can tell you, many people are coming in here because they want to stay here long term and they want to retire here in Singapore. And that just means rich people, millionaires, billionaires from other countries as well. Right? So we all know that there are fewer marriages, there are fewer birth rate. And this is happening to all developed first world country. Right? Singapore can't escape this as well. You compare us, right, to Japan, to Korea, to Hong Kong, to China, to the US, to the UK, Canada, Australia, no matter where, right? Nobody can fight this because this is a global crisis. But what we are doing is we are actually getting investments to come in. We are actually getting companies to come in. We are creating jobs over here. We are getting talents from overseas to come in. Right? So this will eventually grow the population over time. And this is in par with what the government wants to do. So that everything is more substantial, everything can continue to grow. Okay, so hopefully you can see this all coming in because this will affect Singaporeans, this will affect the government, right? So with this, it basically solves a lot of problems that a lot of first world countries are facing. So right now, we only have about 1.7. This numbers is back in 2023, right? So with this number of dwelling units, it's basically not enough if we look at currently average household of 3.1, right? Although the size of the unit doesn't have to be so big, but it's not going to fit in everybody with the current units that we have. There is a shortage of residential dwelling units in Singapore. So you see, we have the supply in control, right? Basically, how many new launch, how many projects are coming out versus how many people are coming in. It's all under control. So if you tell me the property market is going to go down, first, this has to increase by a lot. This has to decrease by a lot for that to happen. If everything stays the same, it will then stay the same. But it's not. This is changing and this is changing. Right? So demand will continue to grow. And for Singapore housing, it's because of its growing population. Right? And majority of private homes are owned by Singaporeans and Singapore PRs. Right? So this become a very valuable asset for us to hold, whether it's for renting out or whether it's to sell it to incoming citizens. There are growing numbers living in condo. Basically, with more people understanding what I have shared so far and what's termed by financial literacy, people will start to understand the importance of investing in good assets. Right? So basically, people are shifting away from HDB as much as they can to go into condos. People are also shifting away from landed properties to condo. And that's why we see the increase in condos in terms of ownership. And of course, we all know that life expectancy is increasing. People are going to grow older longer. People are going to stay around longer. You need to make sure that you can prepare yourself for the retirement fund. So, next thing, case study, right? So, retirement planning through property, it needs to be strategized. It needs to be planned ahead. It's very hard to go in last minute and say you want to do it now, right? We have also seen in articles that somebody at 51 has already retired because there's proper planning in his investments, right? So in real estate investment, we want to look at the 3 C's. Basically, capital appreciation, the cash flow, and capital build-up, right? So a question to ask is, do you actually make money if you buy at 1.3 and you sell at 1.3 after 10 years? Okay, now this is not a trick question. People may say that you didn't make money, but something that they may have missed out is that there is the build-up in capital. So never make money. You also cannot say that you lose money, right? Unless you want to calculate all the expenditure and all this. But nevertheless, when it's being sold and when you have a capital build-up, your next purchase, potential purchase, will be at a higher quantum. And that's the beauty of investing in real estate, right? So now we add in capital appreciation, right? So if you have bought it at 1.3, you sold it after 5 years with 150,000 appreciation. Next up, you can get into something of a higher quantum. And you repeat this again, you will be able to get something of another higher quantum. And that's how people build their wealth and build their capital, build their retirement fund with property. Okay? So capital build-up is something that will be there no matter what, right? You can think of it like an alternative savings plan. But this time round, it's not just numbers in the bank. This time round, you can see, you can touch, you can feel, and then you can calculate that the money will be built up over time. Okay, so a usual life cycle for retirement planning is that since birth, right, up to 25, you have your parents helping you with most of the expenses. Then you start to work, right? You will have the active income, you will also have your spending increasing together with it, and then going towards retirement. And during this time is the time where you want to build up the source for your retirement, whether it's through business, insurance, stocks, gold, okay, or real estate. You want to also have enough cash or passive income to finance your retirement. Okay, now this is just yours, but for beyond, this is what it may look like. Okay, may look a bit complex, huh? Okay, this is yours. This is when someone else comes into your life. When you have a kid, right? So it's not just about yourself. When you have somebody coming into your life, you have a newborn, you want to plan for your children. It's not just about you now. It's to also help him elevate his planning for his retirement. And that's something that most people may not think about. But this is also what some people talk about in terms of legacy planning. Because real estate can help you with this. So, what's the next step after knowing all this? My question to you is, do you know how to identify profitable properties? Do you know when to enter, when to exit? Do you know what is the right price to enter? Right? Because if you want something that has a potential growth, a higher potential growth, if you want something that is appreciating, these are the things that you need to find out. Right? And if you don't know what to do, don't know how to start off with, my recommendation is to get in touch with me. Right? Let me help you out. Let us sit down together. Let us talk about your plans. Let us plan ahead. Let us strategize what you should do. Okay? Because in terms of investments, we may only think about the good stuff. Are there people who make losses in property? There are. It's just not widely announced and widely reported. I can show you people actually make losses when they buy, when they choose, when they enter, when they exit, all in the wrong manner. And that basically means the downfall of the property investment here in Singapore, right? So people always say, buy property in Singapore, sure make money. Are you really so sure? Because there are cases where people lose money. And I hope you who are watching this video don't fall under that category, because to build up that loss may take a lot more time. Right? So we have reached the end of the video, and some of the questions that I have asked, if you have no answers to it, my suggestion is maybe you want to reach out, get in touch. This is the QR code that you can scan, that you can reach me out on WhatsApp, or you can find me on social medias through my handle, right? This is my handle, my full name, Orbun Wei, right? A few questions that you really want to think about, that you really want to start thinking is not just your retirement fund. You may even start building the retirement fund for the next generation, right? Because this is what real estate is meant for. We are always talking about buying and selling and capital gain and all this, but there's more than that. So I hope you really understand where I'm coming from. It's really to foolproof yourself and more than beyond. Okay, so family planning usually comes like that. Legacy planning usually comes like that. It has to start with someone first, and it may be you, right? Starting this, planting this seed forward and onward, so that future generations have it easier, right? I will see you on the other side. Reach out to me. get in touch. Speak to you soon. See you, take care, and bye bye.